They did?
No, this is the
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I don't have any problem with it.
Consolidated Commission on Utilities work sessions, the Guam Power Authority. For the record, those present are myself, Commissioner floor is yours. We go straight to your one issue for decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution 2020-16. This is page 3 in your board books. Authorizing management to petition the PUC to award the contract for the supply of residual fuel oil, number 6. And this is a contract with, we currently have a contract with Mobile. And actually it was a 2-year contract with 3 optional 1 year. Mobile, but you have decided not to implement the 1-year option. And part of it is because of the different costs, the impact of the changes in regulation requiring really the ships and everything coming into port being burning ultra low sulfur diesel, and of course that also drives premiums of other things up. No? So again, they decided not to implement the option, although we tried to negotiate the continuance of that. So we did get your approval and PUC to go ahead and issue a procurement, which we did. 3 bidders came in: Hyundai, Mobile Oil, Guam, and Hanwha Corporation. Hyundai Corporation was our previous supplier prior to the Mobile Oil contract. And so what we have is in Exhibit A actually is the layout, and that I think is on page 6. And that actually shows you bidder number 1, Hyundai, bidder number 2, Mobile, and Hanwha. And for low sulfur fuel oil, the premium coming in by Hyundai is about $19.18 per barrel, or 124.69 per metric ton. So I'm just gonna give you approximately per barrel cost. Mobile oil is $31 per barrel, and Hanwha is actually close to, not too far from Hyundai at $19.53. For high sulfur fuel oil, and that was for low sulfur fuel. For high sulfur RFO, Hyundai came in at $11.06, Mobile $21.88, and for Hanwha $15.28. So really the low bidder is Hyundai. The impact, however, though, is that the current price for premium for low sulfur fuel is about $13.62 a barrel. Now that will go to $19, so about a $5.50 increase. And then the high sulfur fuel oil will go from $7.18 to $11.03 per barrel. So again, the total contract, this is for a 3-year contract with 2 optional 1 year. The 3-year contract will bring us into about mid or late 2023. And again, it's if we don't buy any more RFO before that date, it doesn't
stop
cost us for you.
Yeah.
And then it does have the optional 2 1-year in case of extension or anything like that.
You know, John, I think it's
recommendation
important.
to you is to go ahead and award to
Okay.
Hyundai Corporation. The contract expires August 31st.
Okay.
And so
We need to
have send this to the PUC as just a prelude to your approval, so
Sure.
that if you approve it tonight, then they can act on it in their meeting
Thursday
next
meeting.
week.
Yeah, next
So
week.
then we
Thursday.
can
Okay, for the viewing public, whoever's viewing us out there, and for the media that's here today, it's important to note that this premium that you're paying of $19 and some cents does not include the price of the oil itself. And just because we need our ratepayers to fully understand this, The premium is the charge for the shipping, the insurance of the shipment, and all the other charges that go into
Blending costs.
all the
to
costs
bring to our
that go
South
into bringing the oil here. On top of the $19 a barrel, you have the actual price of oil that's on the spot market in Singapore that you have to pay. So, just for clarity, so that some people don't say it's only $19 a barrel. No, it's $19 a barrel for the premium, and the actual cost of the oil on the spot market, whether it's the low sulfur RFO or the high sulfur RFO, is a different matter. It's a fluctuating number based on when we buy the oil. So now, John, if just for clarity, I believe the last time we bought oil, you just bought oil recently, but the time before that, what was the total price that you paid for the barrel of oil, including the premium?
Total, the last shipment was $32 in May. Sorry. Yeah, it came in May, and then we also had another June. Then we also had another shipment just came in last week.
Okay, so what was the price on the...
32, and then last week was 45.
Okay, so just so we
With
see
the
that,
premium, yeah.
that the premium hasn't really gone up yet in that shipment, those two shipments, but it's the price of the oil
I'd go
that
down.
fluctuated. Okay, no, just, this is important. We need to make this public so that the media that's here can cover it, and our ratepayers can understand the dynamics of the movement of LIAC and how it moves. Okay? The only other question I was going to ask was, okay, you answered the question. Our contract expires on August 1st or August 31st?
31st.
31st, oh, okay. So PUC has time to act. If they choose not to act in this Thursday meeting, they can act at the next meeting.
Yes, we're just encouraging.
No, it's better if they act now, so we can get all our lines in place.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, are there any questions? I'm sorry. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, John, I just want to make sure I'm following you along. So the premium, as the chairman said, that's the freight, basically the tanker, the insurance, right, those ancillary costs.
Handling.
Yeah, just the net of the fuel costs, right?
Right.
The fuel costs after refining for our need is the market price, right? I'm sure there's some differentials in the types of fuels, but generally, refining is refining. It's done in Singapore. It's a number. We pay market prices, the chair pointed out. And then what they charge us to bring that tanker to us, you're saying has gone up 44% from the current bid?
The average, total average.
And that's sort of consistent with Mobil saying, the reason Mobil didn't extend their option is it sounds like the costs have gone up so much, they couldn't afford to exercise their option years. They had bid, good for us, they had bid low, but bad for them, Mobil, that when it came time to exercise their option, because the costs clearly had gone up from their last bid 2 years ago, they decided not to bid. You put out the new bid, and now you're telling us that the premium, the non-fuel portion, unfortunately, with 3 bidders, is still going up 44%. And then I think I caught some of it, but if you don't mind repeating, what are the reasons that are causing that premium to go up?
Well, part of it is there's the law that you can't bring in ships to U.S. ports or anything unless you're burning real low sulfur fuel oil.
That's a new law?
That was the concern as early as we've been trying to implement the first year option with Mobil since February of this year. And that was their concern. They couldn't,
Is that a new federal
Right.
U.S. law
Yeah.
that was passed?
Comes into effect, I think, January 2020. For all ships coming into anywhere in the
They have to-
U.S. port.
They have
Even Singapore, which you're saying is all the ships leaving from Singapore
Yeah.
are burning into 0.5%. Really, really low, which is almost closer to diesel, which means the price of the oil.
And if we just go back to the previous bid, the contract was under Hyundai,
Right,
and then Mobil came in to bid.
right. And what was the, what is the premium?
Hyundai
Mobil?
at that bid process bid real high with concern about this whole regulation. And so that's why Mobil actually came in the low bidder. Now it's reverse. Since Hyundai has now gotten a hold of what maybe, minimize their risk, and therefore they came in the low bidder this time. So again, the spot market is for 360 CST, 3.5% sulfur heavy oil, right? So the premium now involves everything that was mentioned earlier, and some slight for blending some of that down from a 3.5% sulfur to like a 1.12 or a 2%, depending on what we're asking for. So they buy the crude, like the product, and then blend it with diesel, which again brings the prices up, right? And bring it down to where we get to the specifications that we've asked for.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
Commissioner Sanchez, you're right, I forgot about that. They have to blend it. So in that $19 a barrel, 19 some cents dollars a barrel, is a charge for blending also. There's several factors. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, I just want to make sure I'm staying with the chair and John. So, there was a federal law passed that takes effect in January of next year? Is that-
This year.
Took effect this year.
Took effect.
And that federal law requires all ships coming into a U.S. port to be burning low sulfur? Okay, and that affects the cost of any supplier of Guam, now has to comply with that, didn't have to comply with it before, and now has to comply with it. The existing bidder knew about that, which is why they didn't exercise their option. And then you're saying we're now going to, correct me if I'm wrong, it's on page 4 of our board books, our new price per barrel for what I call, for the shipping and the handling, as the chair, I agree with the chair, that's what I would call it, is $17 a barrel, and that's 44% higher than, so we used to pay $12 a barrel, something like that? Is that the right way
It's
to?
going to be on the average, no? Because high sulfur. And
Right. But on average,
Yeah.
it
So-
pencils out to $16.75 a barrel?
Yeah. So
Right.
looking at the first year, and then that's for the 3 years, right? Looking at the first year, currently we're paying for high sulfur fuel oil. If you look at the chart on the right side, it says 46.50.
You're on page 6 now, right?
Yeah, 46.50. So you divide that by about 6.5 barrels per metric ton.
Right.
So it's costing us about $7.18, no, today. The new price, the 120, the 71.69 is in the chart there, is 11.03. So that's a $4 increase for high sulfur fuel oil. And then for low sulfur, which is higher anyway, again, you can see the differential between the two because you use more ultra low sulfur diesel to blend it. Therefore, it's going to cost you more. It was $13.62, and that's going to go to $19. Okay. So that differential is 5.5.
And then we burn more high
High
sulfur
sulfur.
than low sulfur.
That's correct.
And when you blend the two premiums for the two
Yeah.
different commodities, knowing that we burn more high sulfur than low sulfur, that's where you get on
Yeah.
page 4 the blended rate of, on average, of 16.58
16.7.
a barrel, and that's what's risen 44% from what we're paying.
On the
Yeah.
average of what we've been consuming.
Given our profile, our use
Given our
profile, okay. So that's the biggest, I mean, that explains why Mobile didn't want to exercise the option. It explains why the premium is going up. But and then the other piece of the puzzle is, okay, what's the oil cost? Now that we have a ship and the handling, we know how to get it here at $16.57 a barrel, which is 44% higher than we were paying before, and we're bringing in, what, 250,000 barrels a ship?
About 250,000.
Yeah, so it's like $1 million. It's like $1 million difference every ship, right? $4 a.
So it's yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's going to put pressure on the LEAC. It's going to put pressure on our. But we have 3 bona fide suppliers. None. They're all in this range. They're all recognizing this new requirement, and that's unfortunate. From an environmental point of view, it's wonderful. From a cost point of view, it's more expensive, right? And then, but we have to have the oil, and we have to comply with the federal law. Okay, so that's the right way to think about it. That's the 1675, and the 44% is from a $11 range, $12 range, and and then, all right. I'm sure that all spills into your next presentation on the LEAC, yeah? Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John.
Okay, Commissioner Teo.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. So should I, John, should I just wait till we see the president? Because those were my line of questioning was, what is the impact on the LEAC? So should we just
Yeah,
wait
if you
till
don't,
then?
we have some.
Okay.
Okay, let's finish first on this one. Are there any further questions on the current resolution?
And this is a
No.
311 also?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
traditional 311 options in the
Yes.
fourth year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if there are no
So we
further
have-
questions on this resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, John, to your GM report.
I'll
and
go
your-
into the GM report and go right into the LEAC.
Go into the LEAC first. You
Oh,
can
LEAC
come back
first,
to
okay.
tell us anything else.
I didn't bring mine. Okay, is that the start? So there's the May 20 shipment, $30.48 a barrel. That's the landed cost of our previous shipment. The landed cost of the one that just came last week is about $45 a barrel. So just in this period of time, fuel oil has risen on the market, COVID-19. So next. Again, this is how the LEAC is set. They look at the period 5 days before and 5 days, and then it's projected for so many months ahead by Morgan Stanley, and then they use that number. Because again, it's anybody's crystal ball to pull out a number for LEAC, but these are the consultants in the field that recognize at least to have provide us not all the time right, but fairly good data. So again, this is what's used to determine. And again, if you look ahead up to January, you're looking up to about $50 a barrel fuel. Now that $50 is not inclusive yet of premiums or anything like that. That's just the market. If you look the market for gas oil in the bottom, 10 parts per million, that's also low sulfur diesel. And the top is the RFO 180, which is high sulfur fuel. And again, that's what I was saying before you blend it. No? Okay, next. Just yearly fuel cost as we have had in the past, of course. FY16 was down to 145. FY19 way up again. FY20, of course, is going to be down because of the recent COVID, and we don't have that number yet to the end of the year. Next. Price of the LEAC has been, if you're seeing from about May 2018, we had the LEAC at 15.4 cents a kilowatt hour, all the way up until about February of 2020 this year, when we dropped the LEAC down to 13.4. Then in April, we dropped it down to 11. And then in June, it was dropped down to 8.6 cents kilowatt hour. No? So again, that's a big dive. So next. Again, this just gives you an overall idea that really the rates is just really the ebb and tide of the power rates is really based on the LEAC movement. Our base rate, as you see, is a straight line since way back in about 2013 to 2014. So we haven't increased our base rate. It's always just been LEAC. No? Next. And again, this is the LEAC for the period, and then the under or over recovery at the end of that period. So over the past several years here, when oil was really high, GPA was able to its working capital and everything forward actually as much as $16 million of working capital to try and mitigate the rise in the power rates to the consumers. Since then, again with the dropping of fuel oil, We dropped that all the way down to about 1.8 as of the February of this year. And again, continued to do that. But when we dropped the rate from 11 to 8.6, the under recovery started to climb a little bit more. But at the end of, I'll show you that at the end of June, the estimated under recovery is still about 3.2 million. Next.
End of July. That's end of July, John.
I'm sorry.
End of July.
End of July, yeah. That's it, I was saying, yeah. Anyway, so here's the LEAC projection moving forward and under recovery. If we did nothing at all and kept the rate, by January 2021, you'll have about a 16.9 million under recovery. So this will go right back to where we were way back, no? Next. So what would it take to bring the rate to where you would make a full recovery, zero balance at the end? So this is the scenario. Scenario A is remain as is, 8.6 cents. That will give you that right down the middle, 16.9 million. I'm sorry, I don't have my. Oh. I'm not. Excuse me, Commissioner Sun. With all my hands, I'm a little more difficult. So here, the $16.9 million of under recovery I showed you earlier. To recover that to be zero, the rate would be you have to go up to 11.45. So you really go back to what it was in April, approximately. No? A 50% under recovery, where you'll still have 8 million under recovered by the end, will bring the rate to about 10 cents a kilowatt hour. So that's the numbers, and that includes the premium that is before you.
Okay. Commissioner Chapo, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So JB, was this analysis the impact to when we first went to the PUC and recommended a LEAC reduction? Walk me through the history, because I recall the PUC actually suggesting a even lower LEAC than what we had proposed, correct?
Yeah, we proposed about 8.9 and they dropped to 8.6.
Okay, so is the under recovery, the impact of this potentially new contract award, does that make up for majority of this under recovery? Or what were you projecting for under recovery? Let's just say that all things remain the same.
Remember, John?
Oh, yes, it's about, I think we were predicting close to $15 million.
With
No,
Before.
At 8.9, at 8.9?
At
Yeah, 8.9, yes.
okay, so that the delta is only really about 1 million then? That's impacted by this change in the premium to get the fuel to us?
Oh, yes, well, what we did when we did the last LEAC update, we bumped it up by 0.5 of the actual premium, because we didn't know what the actual bid price going to be, so we did bump up a little bit of the premium.
By 0.5% or?
Yes, 0.5% of
0.5%, but now it's close to 50%.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. But did I hear you correctly that the delta between this new premium amount and what you were projecting is only roughly 1 to 1.5 million?
We're trying to confirm that. We're trying to pull out the file from
Previous.
Per month, because remember, it's gone up 44%. I did the quick math, it's $250,000 barrels, $4. That's an extra million just on the premium, the handling. Then, the other thing, that my other takeaway was, if we had done even, whether we did the 8.6.
Oh, sorry, 14 million. 14. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, 14.3.
At 8.6, or at 8.9.
Yeah, 8.9.
Right.
Oh, not at what the PUC dropped it to 8.4, right?
8.6.
But it seems
Or
to me, it
E6.
seems to me two things are going on. One is the premium change is now real. We actually have the bid, right? And, it's 44%, right? And that's the lowest one, right? The other piece of the puzzle is you're guessing in April, May, what you thought oil would be. And oil is a little higher than everybody guessed. That's the other differential, because like you said, we would have been, whether at 8.9 or 8.6, we would be short between 14 and 16 million bucks next January 31st. So the decision becomes, do you want to run short? Do you want to recover some of it, all of it? And John's thrown three scenarios. Don't recover anything, you're going to be short 16 million bucks. Recover half of it, it's a slightly lower rate increase. Recover all of it, it's a slightly higher rate increase. All three proposed rates are still cheaper than it was in 2018 or 2019 when we were at 15 cents. We're talking at being between 10 and 11 and a half, or 11 and 11 and a half, depending on your rate of recovery for the under recovery, because two things have gone up: the handling costs with the new bid and the cost of oil.
The projection for the cost of oil.
Has gone up higher than we projected. And we know projections are, that's just what they are. They're best guesses.
Right, so we can continue to, I mean, it's still a very difficult period for a lot of businesses and everyone out there. So, I mean, the trend could still continue, but it's really in the hands of the PUC now. No?
Yeah.
But, so we were projecting an under recovery as a part of assistance because we have been there before and we have
knew
the
we were gonna
financial
have to recover
capability
some.
to sustain it. So if they went to 50% and just, okay, adjusted to 10 cents, we still be good, and that way it's helping the customer.
Okay,
But
real quick.
without them raising the rate, there'll be a $17 million
We'll be back to-
projected under recovery of 17 million next January.
Which is what, which is
It's close to the high we've ever done.
close to the high that we were.
Is whether you want to go back.
Yeah, okay, just for a point of clarification though, we presented the PUC with our thoughts, and our thoughts are already with them. We thought 8.9 for 8 months, so we're not really going to update that. We're updating the data. The call is now theirs. We don't have to adopt a resolution. I just want to make sure everybody understands. There's no need for us to take any action. We took an action back a couple of months back, and we said, instead of making it for 2 months, let's make it for 8 months, and we think 8.9 would work. So now, that's always premised on the fact that as you get closer to August 1st, the numbers become clearer. So now the numbers became clearer. Now it's the PUC's call. We don't have to do anything. We're not adopting a new resolution.
But I think just to be
But
consistent,
just-
whether we
sure.
did 8.6 or 8.9, there would have been, given the new premium
Sure.
handling
Yep.
and the rising cost of oil,
Yeah.
there would have been a shortfall, an under recovery in the
Mhm.
13, 15, $17 million range next January, right? So you're right, Mr. Chairman, that'll be the PUC's decision. Do they want to under recover? Do they want to fully recover? Do they want to partially recover? Whether they had adopted our number or their number that they did adopt in April, right? There would have been a need to raise the rate for two very real reasons. A new requirement for ships to burn a more environmentally clean fuel, but a more expensive fuel. That's raised our handling costs for the tanker, and oil has gone up from what it was in February, March, April when it collapsed. Right? So that's the unfortunate truth.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate truth. And again, the one piece that we know is locked in is the handling charge, is the premium. That's locked in. We're locked into that. We know you buy so many barrels of oil, you pay that premium. The problem now, that the wild card is, what do you buy on the oil, the spot market? And to be honest with you, if you look back to the different under recoveries and over recoveries over all the years, really what that shows us is nobody really has a good crystal ball. I mean, nobody knows how to do a good crystal ball where you can actually come out and come right to zero, right? So I'm saying that and it's even harder today, given the world's situation with the pandemic and the collapse of a lot of economies around the world, I don't know how you make an accurate projection. So to me, it's going to be a little bit of a crapshoot in terms of the price of the oil itself, because you have a lessening of demand, and the biggest economy in the world is the United States economy, and it's no longer buying oil, it's producing oil. So that demand is not going to affect the price from outside where we get our oil from Singapore. And the world, the next biggest economy in the world, next biggest country is China. And, the U.S. is 25 trillion out of $90 trillion of GDP for the world. China's 15 trillion. After that, everybody's small potatoes. Even Russia is 2 trillion out of 90 trillion. They're not a big economy. Okay, so I feel comfortable with what we presented. I really do. I don't see growth rebounding. I really don't. So, it's really up to the PUC. They have to kind of weigh all these things. Okay? Commissioner Sanchez, you wanted to say
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I think your points are well made. The other thing I've been looking at is that the historical LEAC under recovery, I think it's 2 slides earlier. I don't know what page it is. Under either scenario we're looking at, it's still we're looking at, what is it, 10.6 and 11? What are the numbers we're looking at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
10
Sorry, sir.
no, I'm sorry, 11.4 and 13.2, right? Those are the 2 numbers, right?
Back up one.
11.4 for full recovery by January, and then 10.00.
I'm sorry, looking at the wrong one. Yeah, 11 and 10, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the 2 slides earlier, and you look at those rates are still lower than what we were paying in 2017,
Yeah.
3 years ago. So the overall cost of energy actually over the last 3 years has trended
Down.
lower,
Yeah.
even with this adjustment, right? The price that the PUC could consider, the range, would still put the LEAC price to our customers below what they were paying in August of 2017, right around what they were paying in 2017, 3 years ago, right? So,
Actually,
doing the right thing?
Commissioner, as early as July of 2019, it would still be lower. Because even at July of 2019, it was 50.15.
yeah, we held that 15.4 for 18 months, and then, even then, the 15.4 went up from 14.7. Both rates are still lower than 14.7. August 2017 at 11.7, both rates are at or below what it was 3 years ago, right? So there's sort of a reflection of oil in general the past 3 years that has trended up and then back down. And, it's unfortunate, we suffer from the vagaries of having to just use it, that the PUC is going to have to decide whether it wants to under-recover and how much. But there's the numbers indicate that the LEAC will probably have to go up, if they choose to under-recover by 17 million next January, they're not going to be able to do that twice, right? So it's kind of like, when do you want to take your medicine? You want to take it earlier and gradually nibble away and not be so far behind, or you could wait till next January, but then that rate increase is going to be pretty significant. So
But again,
we share the same challenge the PUC has.
and we're giving them the data.
And they have the data.
That's the important thing. We need to give them the data.
And even the highest rate is cheaper than it was 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right? But it's just the timing is horrible for any rate increase.
Yeah.
We'll see what the PUC say. They may say, never mind, under-recover.
Yeah.
We have under-recovered by
Which was our proposal.
this amount before.
Yeah.
We would, even under our proposal, we would have under-recovered.
Undercovered, yeah.
Right? But the premium change was,
Now we
no
know.
one knew.
Now we know.
Now we know. We knew there was a challenge when the current provider said, I'm not exercising that option, because they were getting clobbered. And yet we can ensure that the people of Guam will have access to oil and fuel, even at rates that are cheaper than they were 3 years ago. And that may be the best we can do, given the circumstances. And had the premium not gone up, it might have been even lower. But the reality is it had to go up due to in pursuing more environmental protection, making sure ships coming into America are burning cleaner fuel, it raises the cost of having ships come into America, which include Guam. So we're benefiting from the environment, but we're paying for that benefit through higher handling costs, because that's the unfortunate trade-off with environmental, improving our environment. It's not cheap right now to go to cleaner fuels, and we're sort of paying that premium to burn a cleaner fuel. So it works on the environment side, but it hurts the pocketbook side.
Okay. So if there are no further questions on the LEAC, John, you can go back now to your GM report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Oh,
First,
yeah.
I don't believe we ever took a vote on the resolution.
Oh, no, that's next Tuesday. This is just the discussion.
Today?
No, we do need it today because we've asked the PUC to consider it at their meeting next
Oh,
Thursday.
Got it.
We at
Well,
least need to give them some time to consider a passage resolution.
okay, okay.
Is it prepared?
Yeah.
What page is it on our?
Okay,
Page
let's,
three.
okay, so
I'll make the
we can, you want to make a motion, Commissioner
Yeah, let me
Sanchez?
just get to it. Or what's the resolution number?
It's the only one for action.
2020-16,
Page 2.
2020-16.
Okay. 2020-16, in this, okay.
Go ahead,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner.
I move to authorize GPA management to petition the PUC to award the contract for the supply of residual fuel oil number 6 to Hanwha, right? Hyundai, excuse me, to Hyundai, as shown in resolution number 2020-16 to Hyundai.
Second? Okay. Any further discussion? None?
No, just
All
that
those in
the
favor?
chairman has, the managers pointed out the premium went up in the new bid.
No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries 4 aye votes.
No wonder Francis didn't.
No. I will go through this as quickly as you would like. So starting with, again, we have not capacity. We are going to overhaul. Actually, 8 and 9 is down for a 14-day overhaul right now. So we're at that much reserve. If you look here, blue is 2019, and the orange is 2020. As you see, peak demand is now beginning to catch up to where it was last year. This peak demand is really the capacity needed to serve everyone in any period of time, any hour. The next page is the energy. This is the amount of energy produced, which translates, which correlates to the sales. No. So as you can see, early on, our sales was approximately 8.2%. It's starting to merge now. It's like about 3.2%. So as you see, we projected for the fiscal year, somewhat an overall total of about 4% drop in revenue and sales. So we're tracking that. And again, it's starting to merge in terms of the energy, which correlates to the sales. Next. This is net metering. We have 2,098 customers, 24 megawatts. Here's the number of customers per month, really none over the pandemic period, and about 5 to 11 over the past two months. And this is despite the battery or all of that. So, next. Demand side, this is the rebates for air conditioning and everything else. We spent about 4.5 million. The PUC approved in May, beginning June, under the LEAC for DSM funding of about 1.5 million over every 6 months. Again, we're just starting to process all the backlog that we have on rebates. 147,000 were sent out in June itself. We have close to maybe 800 or more rebates are being processed now to try and catch up as a result of, these were sales made even through the pandemic. No? But again, now the good news is that we have the funding about $1.5 million every 6 months. Next. Here's the fuel prices. Again, as you can see, it's really jumped about 40% from the $30 in May to now about $40-some. And again, this is at the Plazogram. This is not inclusive of premium, no? No, not.
John, I'm sorry, just ask you a quick question. Can you go back to the demand side management?
Sure.
So I noticed that, and I'm grateful to the PUC for working with us so that we can continue to give ratepayers rebates. I like what you said about the $1.5 million a year, right, is what we've been averaging 18 and 19. That's 120,000 a month, but we're way off in 2020. And I was just curious, and I forget what the increase was on the LEAC for demand side management, but did you say we're going to generate 1.5 million every 6 months or
Right.
12 months?
It's like a .002, I think, or something.
And how much does that generate every year?
About 1.5 every 6 months, 3 million a year.
Okay, so I guess my question is, if you look at FY18 and FY19, we only spent $1.5 million.
Yeah,
Now,
but
where will the additional,
yeah.
who's not buying, we're going to go from $1.5 million a year to $3 million a year. Who are those people? And
We have a whole list of other
items
items that we
products?
didn't supply, like even commercial and everything
Yeah.
else.
So you're hoping to capture
That's right.
More
Well,
Or we could only take the residentials.
Yes.
And this is
So-
all basically what they are.
Right.
So now we're going to open. So it's just that,
So small
we've been caught
businesses.
in the,
Yeah, commercial.
caught in right at the COVID period. So now we're going, and then we have to also market it more.
And then we'll watch it, right? If we don't hit 3 million a year in a year, we can go back.
And
I
then
mean,
what
it's only
happens
point, like you
is-
said, it's only .00,
Yeah.
really
What
small.
happens
number.
is if we don't spend it over the 6 month period, the first true up will be in January next year.
Oh, okay.
So if we don't spend it,
then,
we still stay with the $1.5 million, give the rest back.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the-
So that's already set up.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you, John.
And John, just highlight again, it used to be limited to residential.
Right.
Going forward, you're going to include now small businesses and nonprofits.
Commercial and that.
Yeah, okay.
So there's an
So you're
opening,
expanding the.
there's about 10 additional,
Items
Groups.
and you're
Yeah.
broadening the
yeah.
market.
It's just that we, this was just approved in June, no? And it's just, so now we're rolling out, we're catching up with the rebates. See that 1 month, just 1 month is 147 already. So we're rolling it out.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Okay, next, again, this is fuel. PUC will be is addressing next week the Cabras 1 and 2 PMC, this contract that you just approved today, and then of course the LEAC filing. Phase 3 renewable, as you recall, that's under protest since late last year. It's over the OPA, and it looks like closing arguments will is set for next week, July 30. And typically, I think the OPA decides about within 30 days after that with a decision. So I'm hoping that, the protest, we win the protest so then we can move forward. This is 11 cents a kilowatt hour. All
Energy
in.
storage for shifting.
Full energy storage where we can use this to shape the peak. So this is our first real model on what the future is going to be looking like.
Still not cheaper than oil.
Huh?
Still
Was
not
that?
cheaper than our next oil price though. But it's a hedge.
It's a
Yeah.
It's a hedge. 'cause
It's ahead. So again, in the future, 25% of the impact we're seeing on oil, we're seeing, and when we get to
Plus it's
50%, oil only has a 50% impact
It's
on
clean, no
us.
premium.
Yeah.
Premium.
So it's
So
a
stable.
stable contract,
Yeah.
1% escalator per year.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yep. Accounts under payment plan, we did receive over 550 for postpaid, including about the same amount, about 600 or so for prepaid. So we still have about 600 in the prepaid that they need to come in. They're still not active at this point, meaning they're not putting any money into the till. So we'll be contacting them more and more and work it out. Huh? So again, we're
Commissioner
trying
Sanchez,
to minimize disconnection. However, we're coming. We have to, start.
Commissioner
beginning.
Sanchez.
Yeah.
So thanks, John. I asked Miguel about this as well. First off, on a prepaid, if someone, what are we doing? If someone can't afford it, we front them some money, or how does that work?
Well, right now we're fronting them the electricity.
With the
In
no
a prepaid,
disconnect
they have
policy.
to load
That's no
up
disconnect.
like the regular telephone. They load up
Right.
$50, and that brings them so much energy. So the way it works in a prepaid debt, we implement a debt recovery. So say they pay $50, and our agreement is a 10% recovery. So out of that 50, 10% of 50 is $5. $5 go to pay the past debt and everything. So from then on, they start to continue
Catching
to
up.
pay.
But if the LEAC goes up, their amount's gonna go up, right? For the same kilowatt.
yeah.
Do they buy kilowatt hours,
No.
or it's all dollars? Here's
So-
$50.
They buy kilowatt.
No, they buy
Whatever
dollars.
the rate is for the residential or whatever there. If it's
Right, but do
20
they,
cents a kilowatt hour, they put in $100. It keeps subtracting.
right, so they purchase dollars.
Dollars.
That's what it says, right? Now, here's $100.
Yep.
And it goes until it's out.
But some people, that $100 is running out, well, some people don't have the $100, right? Or they only have $50 because they're unemployed, so how do we help a prepaid person if they can only do 50, but they're gonna use 100? We advance the 50.
That means that they have to give in the 50, and then we take a certain amount of that to pay for the debt recovery.
Well,
No,
So you work out a formula.
No, John, I don't, no, the Commissioner Sanchez's question is, if somebody's paying $50, and that's what they're consuming on a monthly basis, just for the number's sake, and now they have a back debt. You're saying that if they didn't pay for 2 or 3 months during the COVID part, they've racked up $150, and using the $50 a month. Okay, so then going forward, they have to continue paying their $50, and a portion of that 150 that they've racked up. So it's $50
And is
plus
that
another $10 or whatever that amount is for
And
that 12
is that
months.
formula based on, that makes sense, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Is that formula based on a 6-month recovery of the unpaid?
Depends
12
what
month?
your payment arrangement is.
12.
Okay, and that's
So
where.
you take it over, and then if you're normally using $50 or so, you add that $10 or $15 on top of that, no?
What's
And,
the
That's
average,
your percentage, and then, so whatever they pay, it clips off.
for prepaid customers, is there such a thing, and what does the average prepaid customer prepay every month? What's their, $100, $200 a month? I mean, I can't think of too many people with $100 a month.
It runs the gamut, so the prepaid customers is really based on what you were saying on a budget. So it's really, for budget conscious,
But the average budget conscious ratepayer is prepaying what, $100 a month, $50 a month, $10 a
it
month?
runs the gamut.
300,000.
I-
People who are not as budget, who can afford it, they've been prepaid so that they pay on a different type of schedule.
So, but
They're not required to pay for 1 month. In other words, they can put down $50, and when it's ready to expire, they get a notice, they can put another $50.
that part I understand.
So
but-
in a
but-
month, they
but
could
in the
wait
past few
12 to-
months, You've had some people not able to pay that extra.
Yeah, we can get you
$50.
the demographics of the pre-pay.
Maybe
Yeah.
For
just a-
Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe just a next
Just
meeting.
to show you how
somebody else.
many, what is their consumption, from previously $100 to 100 or whatever.
And what's our receivable from them? If not, right, it sounds like we have a
I
receivable
think,
with prepaids.
the last I saw, I think it was about 300,000.
Oh, not so
It's not a
bad.
big number.
Not so bad.
From about, there's about 1,200 prepaid.
Okay, and what's that what's that monthly revenue of 1,200? Or at the
do
next
it
meeting, maybe
Tuesday.
give
At
us a little
Tuesday,
snapshot.
give us a little
Okay,
more
so we
information.
can better understand, but there's, so
Yeah.
out of our 50,000 customers,
Yeah.
just 1,200 have prepaids, right, a very small percentage.
Right.
They come in and they pay an amount, and then they replenish. But in the last 3 or 4 months,
They've
if
had
people
some
had
problem.
difficulty replenishing, we advanced them the power. We built up a little receivable 300,000, and as they pay, and now you've worked out a payment plan for that balance, even though they have to keep buying what they need to use each month, you add on a little bit
They have to pay a little bit more.
to start to recapture some of
So
the,
where we at now is we have 1,200, about 1,200 prepaid. We have 600 that have made arrangements. So
okay,
we have 600 to work on now.
Okay.
So at some point, if they don't come in and make the arrangements, we're gonna have to push the button a little bit and they'll come in, no?
right, so,
So that we can at least talk arrangements, no?
okay.
So
So
we're
that,
trying not to do that, but that's way where we're gonna have to go, probably by the end of the month, no?
if you can
Yeah.
by Tuesday, just a little snapshot of that would,
Yeah.
I think would be helpful, because I guess the other group is the postpaids. When you say we've got 500 payment plans, that includes prepaids and postpaids?
This is postpaid. Postpaid is,
Is only, okay. And,
we
okay.
haven't disconnected anyone, so everyone's been,
And then, so I asked Miguel this yesterday, it's your call. You've got lots of plans in place, so it seems like everyone's bought a little time by putting a plan in place. What would cause you to say it's time to disconnect the customer?
not yet. I'm thinking we're gonna make every effort. I think the message is out there. We continue to provide
Reach
that.
out.
Come in and make a payment plan. We didn't even say when we're gonna just come in and
good.
so we'll continue, and then we're gonna try and make every effort to contact them. If we can, then, like I said, we'll have to push a button and
At
let
some
them
point.
call us or come in, so that we can make an arrangement, so we can put closure to this, no? But
And
right
then-
now, we're not disconnected, we haven't disconnected
Okay,
anyone.
good. And you're working with,
I would like to thank the ratepayers, because that's a lot of ratepayers, and they've been
Staying
paying their
with it.
bills, except for just perhaps about less than 1,000, no?
no, that's encouraging. So your receipt, well, like John, either of you can speak to later, your receivables are hanging in there, yeah? With folks, even though they've had trouble
Yep.
paying their
Okay,
phone?
by the way, since we're there, it would be helpful, I don't know if you had it in your current finance report, but give us an update on the Gulf Guam receivables too?
Yes.
Oh, it's in there? Okay.
Yes, in there, yes.
No
yes,
problem.
yes.
Okay,
When we get to it.
when we get to
Please
it,
speak to it.
sure.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so that's phase 3, that's the payment plan. Phase 2, again, we have 2 contracts, the KEPCO LG, actually this should be KEPCO Samsung now, and the Hanwha. They're both, KEPCO is 60 megawatt, and then again, they're scheduled right now, without adjustment, there'll be probably some adjustment for COVID-19, but we haven't, worked any of that out yet. It's planned January 2022, and Hanwha August 2022 commissioning date, no? This is a bird's eye view of what the Hanwha, the KEPCO project, which is just north of us, is going to look like once it's done. Next. The good news is that the ground is all they've been doing site clearing and everything, so that project is moved. Both of the proponents have provided their security deposit, their performance bond, if you will.
They're in.
They're in the game. Huh? Again, that's
Got their
two.
money.
Yeah. So again, this is just to give you an idea of that. Next. Next.
Yay.
Energy storage system. The plan is to restart the testing, barring any more COVID-19 quarantine issues. But we've been writing public health to get permission for these guys to come in and work from their house, work and back. So the plan is the middle of the month, about August 13th, to starting with Talafofo. So that Talafofo could be commissioned by the middle of September. And then from there, they'll start Agana, and Agana will be commissioned by the middle of October. So if all goes well, by the end of October, both the storage batteries will be up and running. Ukudu, of course, COVID-19 delays are inevitable, really. And then there are also other issues like permitting, environmental impact, all this different. The hardest part of all of this is really this process, getting the permits. The construction, once you begin, it's got a set 27 months, no? So
But we have their performance bond?
Not yet. We're getting to that point. The next point is, and again, at some point I'm working on that to try and get that performance bond, because once the performance bond is set, that means they're locked in, no? In the meantime, it's still like this. So we have to work with them as much as possible so that we have a contract. So the performance bonds, once it's triggered, is about 80 million, no? So I don't really have a schedule for you yet, but I think by next month we'll give you a better idea, because we're trying to work out this permitting issues, no?
And John, on Tuesday, you're going to cover some of that in a little bit more detail as far as the delays?
Yeah, next month. Because right now, even if I
Okay.
covered any of it with you, there's so many moving targets that are working with it. Huh?
Sure. I would like to know though, like what's actually being done. What are we actioning to help get over the permitting hurdles?
We're also preparing a report, no, to US EPA that ending July 31st. So I'll also provide you a copy of that report of all the projects.
Because you're going to have to disclose some of these delays, right? In that
No,
report.
we'll disclose everything. So that report is going to go for US EPA. That'll be
So,
open.
John, if I hear you, just to make sure we're all on the same page, you're going to provide EPA some report by the end of this month?
Yep.
So that's why you're saying by next month you can give us some more data?
Yeah. And then by
Okay,
next
so-
month, I'll try and give you a schedule
Yeah,
for
okay.
the power plant, no?
Mhm.
And if the schedule is still going down this way, then I can't really give you an end date yet. Because the
problem.
path we take depends on this process of permitting and everything.
So,
So,
yeah, complete your
so
report to the
I can
EPA.
report
and,
on where we are.
after that,
Okay, so that's Hokudu. There's a couple of articles you might find interesting. One was in the APPA, another one is in the energy, oil, and gas. They reached out to us to ask us what are we doing
oh,
in typhoons and what is our paradigm shift in power
Very good.
generation. So those are national articles. Huh?
oh, okay.
So next. Oh, I like that picture though. See that picture?
The old plant? Oh, the other one.
Yeah, that's one of my better pictures. Thank you.
You look younger than the plant.
Yeah, that's why I like it. Okay, next. So again, it's there, and wanted to share that because we are getting in the map really where I like to say it, not just because I lead the company, but the whole team, this whole utility is progressive in where we, next, and here's the schedule of the
Energy storage.
energy storage, just to show the complexity of all of this. Look at all the items that have to go through the checklist to make sure that everything runs in sync. No? But so that's the schedule. Next, that's it. No?
That's it. Your nice article. Your beautiful
KPIs are, the same. Basically, what I showed you earlier gives you an idea of the sales.
Okay.
And all of that.
Okay. Any further questions for John B? We go to John Kim. John Kim, finance?
Oh, yes, I don't have the financial statements.
Oh, no, I know, but give us the highlights. I think we appreciate the fact that John B has already spoken to the fact that we don't have a lot of big accounts receivable from our customers. The numbers that I heard seem kind of manageable, right?
Yes.
So can you just give us maybe the accounts receivable from the government side? How are they faring?
But the government side is like doing fairly, they're within 30, 60 days.
Okay.
The ones that are having problems is actually DOE. We're working
Always?
we're always we are working with it. It's good to know that GMH, they've been current for quite a while.
Good.
So there's two troublesome accounts. So we have one just DOE that's give us some issues. They were making payments. We had a payment plan. They were making weekly payments. I think they just didn't make a payment for 2 weeks. So we're following with them to keep up with their payment plans.
Okay. But overall, you're not behind Here's the thing I think that's very important is everybody's looking, and they're looking at the government of Guam and the drop in revenue. And yet for us, what we heard from GWA and what I think we heard today is the drop in revenue is not a substantial drop in revenue for us.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. And for accounts receivable, like in January, it was like 35 days receivable. And May was like 42 days. In June, it's about 40 days.
Okay.
So it's still there. So, yeah, hanging there.
But it's not
I do
in-
have revenue numbers. I don't have operating expense numbers. This will be, the information will be also provided in next week, Tuesdays.
Okay.
For the base revenue for June, we was 13,498,000. We budgeted 14,558, but it went down compared to last year. Last year was 13,977,000. So June is short by $480,000. So it's like 3% drop compared to last year. In terms of kilowatt sales, this month is about 130,987 megawatts. Last year was 138,704 megawatts. So it's off by about 7,000 megawatts.
6%.
Yes. And,
$700,000.
yes.
Dollars.
As for the LEAC revenues, we collect, the revenue for June was about $10.5 million. And that's because the LEAC rate went down. Because last May revenue was $14 million. That's a significant drop in the LEAC. Compared to last year, LEAC revenue for June of last year was $21.9 million.
Half.
Which is almost a half. Yes. So we do have a significant change.
It was a nice benefit for our ratepayers.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's it for now. I have the operating. We're still working on the financial thing. We'll have it ready by next week, Tuesday.
Yeah. And also,
You're not
one,
panicking?
Huh?
You're not, neither of you are panicking, so we're
No.
not worried?
yeah, and just again, a reminder that as we prepare for our August meeting, you need to get the budgets going.
Yes.
So that, because, we want to adopt those
Yes.
prior to the
Yes.
October 1st deadline,
Yes.
okay?
Yes. We're almost done. We completed the OM side. We're still working on the capex planning.
Okay.
We're gonna get ready for Mr. PM to review. Hopefully by next week. After that, we'll have Commissioner Santos take a look at it.
Yeah.
And hopefully by August, we'll have ready for the board to review.
That's the plan. Usually try to get it done in August.
And John V. and John Kim, one of the things that's helpful is you reinvest money, revenues, revenue-generated projects, right? Revenue-funded projects. So how much did we do this year before COVID? Because that shows you, one of the things you do is you can always delay a few projects. And that's the saving grace with us as we go forward. That's how we help our ratepayers. It's a little different for GWA because GWA has these huge projects that they have to get going. GPA is fortunate with the technology that's changing, that you can benefit from that. So
Yes.
it would be good to tell us give us the revenue-funded capital expenditures for maybe 18 and 19,
Yes.
or 19 and this year, where you think you are,
Yes.
so that we can get a feel for, okay, you have some money that
Yes.
we can, we work with.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep, we'll give you an update, including,
Is there anything else, commissioners? Ready for a motion to adjourn? So move. Meeting's adjourned.